despite going into their second leg CAF Champions League quarterfinal tie against Esperance with a 1-0 advantage, Mamelodi Sundowns will be under pressure in tonight's quarterfinal. Kickoff for that encounter is 9 p.m. And of course, we are now joined by News 24 senior sports reporter and analyst Khanyiso Tshwaku. Khanyiso, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. We know that for Mamelodi Sundowns, they are on the cusp of qualifying for the semi-finals. How important will that home win prove to be as they play at the Hamadi Agrebi Stadium this evening?
Look, a goal in a home tie. Firstly, good afternoon to the viewers. A goal in a home tie is worth 2 on the road, because whatever Sundowns does now, if they score and they score early, it puts Esperance under significant pressure, because it then brings in the factor of the away goal. I think one of the things that frustrated Esperance in particular was the inability to find an away goal. They didn't come to score, they came to defend. And one of the things about Sundowns in particular is that as much as they also need to sit back and defend, the fact that Esperance will be taking the game to them later tonight, it does open up the opportunity for Sundowns to counter-attack and counter-attack quite effectively.
And of course, we know that dynamic in terms of head coach Miguel Cardoso, who's taking on his previous side. And I remember just in terms of those post-match interviews, the Tunisian media talking about how much he had changed the style of play at Mamelodi Sundowns and making him unpredictable to a certain extent.
Look, I mean, one of the bigger challenges with Sundowns is that they've always been worried about how they win instead of actually winning. And I think that's been the biggest setback in Champions League games, where I think one of the bigger flaws under Rulani Mokwena was an inability to adapt to what was in front of them and try to play the Sundowns way instead of actually looking at the opposition and playing in a particular way and being ruthless. I mean, if you look at how Pirates have gone about their CAF Champions League campaign, where they effectively played what's in front of them, and they've done so quite effectively. I think Sundowns haven't quite done the same, but I think the fact that they've gone about their campaign differently, in that now they need to play the second leg on the road. They got the win at home. It was a scrappy win that they got, but it was a win nonetheless. I think all Sundowns need to do is just find the way to score. And then, because remember now, if they score and let's say, for example, they need 1-0, that means Esperance actually have to win the game outright. They cannot afford it. If Sundowns score early, they can't afford a 2-1 win, for example, because that then Sundowns qualifies on away goals rule. So effectively, they may have scored one. They did have a lot of chances that they didn't quite convert, but Sundowns did score and play themselves into a position where they are, not to say bossing the tie per se, but they put themselves in a decent enough position to put Esperance under pressure.
Absolutely, and I'm sure for the likes of Peter Shalulile, he'll be hoping to repeat those heroics after he scored that goal at home. But of course, maybe quite concerning, Khanyiso, was what we saw at the end of the match, where they were playing here in South Africa, in terms of the violent clashes that broke out. Now, when you have that in mind and them going to this hostile environment in Tunisia, what sort of play should they then adopt?
Look, my first concern is CAF silence over the matter. There was crowd violence, and there wasn't any action, that immediate action taken by CAF regarding that. And I mean, the fact that Esperance actually put in a preemptive strike by reporting the matter first to CAF was them trying to ensure that they left fans at the ground. Remember that there have been instances in the past where the crowd violence has led to Esperance playing games behind closed doors, because they need the fans as a 16th man, as a 19th man, for example, because this tournament matters to them. I think there's always a bit of a God-given right from the North African clubs, where they expect to walk to finals, and they don't quite like it when the Southern African teams tend to stand in the way. Sundowns, in particular, has been a thorn the North African teams, Pirates in the past, and I think this season in particular have also caused North African team problems. I mean, Pirates are absolutely magnificent in their win against MC Alger last week. So look, they needed a crowd behind them, and most probably, if there's an absence of Sundowns fans, all the hostility will be directed to the Sundowns players. But I think the Sundowns players, for example, will be accustomed to this. They've got national team players who played matches in like Algeria, they played in Egypt in front of hostile crowds, they've played probably across the continent, so this is nothing new for them. It's just a case of being able to shut out that white noise and ensuring that they convert whatever opportunities that come their way.
And just a quick one before I let you go. Can Sundowns qualify for the semis What's going to be the scoreline?
Look, I'm not good. I'm not good at putting my head on the block with regards to scorelines, unfortunately. But I think they put their foot forward in Pretoria last week. It's just a case of now ensuring that they get the ball in the back of the net. If they score early, it can go in any direction.
Absolutely. Thank you so much there to Khanyiso Tshwaku. He is, of course, the News 24 senior sports reporter. And, of course, for Sundowns, should they qualify for the semis this evening, they will take on either AS or Pyramids. And we know, of course, for Pyramids, they hold a 4-1 advantage going into the second leg.